Before we get started, I want to ask everybody to do a favor. I'm hoping everybody has some type of drink with them. It could be bottled water, it could be tea, it could be wine, it could be something to whet your tongue. I just thought maybe we would do a quick collective bottoms up or collective cheers, if you will, for this anthology in celebration of this coming out. So everybody get your little drink, and on the count of 3, let's do it. Just a sip for some stuff. 1, 2, 3. Cheers, yay. Cool beans. Well, thank you everybody for being with us today, and we'll jump right into it because we have a lot of brilliant, excellent readers and contributors to this anthology with us who will be sharing their work. So first up, we have Alexandra Vandecam. She is the executive director for Gemini Inc., a writing arts nonprofit based in San Antonio, Texas. She is the author of 2 full-length poetry collections, The Park of Upside Down Chairs by C.W. Books and Kiss Hierarchy by Rain Mountain Press. She has also published several chapbooks, including Dear Jean Seabird and A Liquid Bird Inside the Night. I love the titles. Her poems have been published in journals such as Cincinnati Review, Tahoma Literary Review, Denver Quarterly, AMP, Connecticut Review, the Texas Observer, and Washington Square. Her 3rd book of poems is forthcoming from Next Page Press in 2022. Everybody welcome Alexandra Vandecam.
Thank you so much, Lyndsey. That was a lovely introduction. Can I just say I'm very, very flattered that I'm kicking off this amazing reading of this amazing book. I always look forward to reading A Great Weather for Me, the anthology. I think all the poetry in there just blows my brain in the best possible way. So I'm just thrilled to be a part of this group. I'm going to read first my poem that was in paper Teller Diorama. It kind of looks like this, long lines. It was my first guzzle, believe it or not. It's a very corrupted guzzle, but I don't think I've written a lot of pandemic poems, but this sort of became one. And I just found myself, like many people, watching a lot of birds. Birds are amazing and great. So here it is, Guzzle with Birds and Breath. And it begins with a quote from the wonderful poet Ingar Christensen. Just the body sparingly lit by its uncertain promise. These hands, fiddles of flesh tumbling over the ledge of this spring day. This moment packed with small birds and noon light sidling up my legs as if I'd signed a lifetime contract with it. Today, I count my breath in the bird, not bird, of each passing second, a whimsical but consistent abacus. I'm learning to name things more diligently, that there is no small crevice between wince and flinch, that safe can be a small bird whose throb of throat drowns fear momentarily from a humid world. I'm learning to be less deceived by the shapes of things. The male cardinal is blood vessel red. Yesterday evening, one mate chirped for the other so persistently, it reduced the hour to the where are you of 2 lonely birds. The breath, flimsy lasso tethering us to each second, soundbite of oxygen and despair, exhale of beer, cilantro, morning coffee. Breath, did you know how ghostly you are? By ghostly, I mean almost not here. I mean small birds have been breathing much longer than we have. I mean my veins are a tenuous garden. I suspect that is why the monotony of small birds comforts me as they dot the azaleas, live oaks, and crumpled fences. We are more certain of ourselves than we should be. Plots unfold around us and we barely notice. A mockingbird's spotted, thumb-sized eggs are being snatched by a squirrel as I type these words. I've heard a crow can remember a human's face for 3 years. A body is a trembling, a fragile nest of cells, snapshots of family reunions, the powder blue of my mother's hydrangeas. To keep going, I follow the delicate equation a small bird is. Vandecam, what will you do with your name's allotment of land, its scattering of birds and breath, these hands? First guzzle, everybody. And then I don't know about you, but I've always been fascinated by sleep, and my fascination has not decreased during the last 18, 19 months. So here's my latest sleep poem. It's called Sleep, a Report. Oh, elusive lullaby of the body, porthole into the brain's watery depths. Last night you had me fretting over deadlines again. Deadlines, what a term to carry with us as we wade through our days without the soft clutch of our beds. A bullseye of panic pinned to our to-do lists, a grim nod to our buttercup-dusted mortality. Other nights, empty rooms buoy up inside of me, and I find myself organizing a literary event where each guest must present a hard-boiled egg to enter. Where each guest must present a hard-boiled egg to enter. Who the featured speaker is never mentioned. My dreams decidedly weak on backstory and event planning. Despite the muddy fields that I half remember upon waking, and the snow in a country I've not seen for years. Despite the dead talking to me with teacups in their hands. Sleep, you are a crawl space my body finds each night, and together we dig and dig past gravity and the need for doors to have hinges into what the body carries with or without our permission. Sorry, there was a little bit of a bleep there as I lost my line. This poem's called Poem Logic, and sort of explains its logic. So poem logic. What does it mean when I type grapple and get grape? Does this mean a fingertip-sized fruit is tucked inside each word? Can struggle dissolve into strawberry? I'm looking for a logic to hold on to, for a way to catalog the exact milky gray of clouds, their nosebleed seats to my pinprick of a human drama. I search online for a photo of the blind crustacean a friend mentioned in a poem, and get sidetracked by texts urging me to renew my prescriptions, my RXs that eavesdrop on my heart and its lonely violin solos, set off by lack of sleep and the evening headline. Rhomipeds, I discover, live at the bottom of the sea, are the only known venomous crustacean, and swim on their backs. They would almost feel friendly, except for those fangs. The circus tent sadness of life purrs on. Obituaries stack up next to recipes for comfy carbs, and a photograph of the beloved burlesque dancer who stepped off a city bus into traffic. The hours slip like spilled drinks from our hands, and we are left mopping up the drying droplets from the floor. I want to make sense of abundance. The cornucopia of leaves stained the color of cooling tea, alongside hospitals turning away the sick. How to balance the sanity of fear against the bougainvillea bushes that blush and blush throughout October. Statistics blink from our phones, their lit screens like panicked movie sets with their overworked crews and revised scripts. Everyone is paranoid. What will come next? Thank you, everyone. Those are my 3 poems. Thank you for giving me the privilege of kicking this great reading off.
Awesome. Thank you, Alexandra. That was great. I love just the connection with the body and nature and all that. I love it. Thank you. So next up is the author or editor of 18 books. He lives in Erie, Pennsylvania. Please give it up for Sean Thomas Dougherty. Sean, you there?
Take yourself off Zoom, Sean.
Unmute
You're
yourself.
on mute.
There you go.
I feel like the old guy, you know? I can't hit the mute button. Sorry about that. I'd like to thank Jane, Thomas, David, George, Mary, Lyndsey for inviting me to take part in this and publishing this beautiful anthology. It's just gorgeous. I'm going to read just my poem that's in the anthology, okay? It's a prose poem. It's called Even When I'm Cutting an Avocado. And it's from it's going to appear in my book coming out from Jakar Press in 2022. Even when I'm cutting an avocado, I often think there is a tree inside me. Trees, willows sweeping in a summer wind, maple seeds spiraling through the autumn air. My hands are really big tulip leaves, and you are the wind, everything I inhale. The diffuse sunlight falling through the trees in my chest. It is the gloaming hour. The sky smudged with dark fingerprints of storm clouds. The time the shades are drawn. The shadows step out of doorways. Someone alone owes smoke on a fire escape and watches it dissipate. Is it sacrilege to say, I never completely have not felt you near, even as our bodies fade? Even when you are in the hospital and I am home cutting an avocado. Everything has something to do with you, even though you hate avocados. But our oldest daughter surprisingly likes them with salt. And I remember how she saw me eating one and I told her, I think they taste like rain. But when I said it, I thought that's the kind of thing I used to say to her mother. Why don't I anymore? I guess instead I write these thoughts down for you as if across the absence. How little we have to say outside of there is work to do, or eggs and milk to buy, or our daughters did good on their math tests, or appointments to make, or bills. The pile of paper asking for money they will bury us under. I hate having to write pedantic sentences like that, when I'd rather describe you, reading by the window, your hair pulled back in winter light, in snow light. I think that rises from your thin limbs. Your feeding tube gets in the way, or the marks from the IV. Or like I'm cutting an avocado, even though when I'm cutting it, I think these thin striations, the way in a medical school, they might cut slices out of a heart or pancreas or tissue sample to show it under a microscope. And if they did that to my heart, I know what they would find in the center of every cell. The way a giant seed is always found in the center of an avocado, the seed our daughter takes and puts toothpicks in to try and grow a tree. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for sharing. Really appreciate it. Very profound work. Okay, next up, we have with us Maria Mendoza. She's a Chicana writer, musician, and performance artist. She hails from Austin, Texas, where she keeps it weird. We like weird. She has an MFA in creative writing from San Francisco State University, where their first book, Life's Too Short, won the Michael Rubin Book Award. She is presently still weird, still writing, and looking for a publisher for their second book, The Body Can Tolerate. Welcome, Loria Mendoza.
Thanks for having me, everyone. This is Defining Loss. It's on page 42, if you're reading along. 1. Suddenly, a word, a buzz under my tongue. A word I could have sworn meant as much as I do, even when I don't feel like much. 2. A severing motion that slices, an opening and a closing, well wishes for a death I'll confront again and again, wailing room to room. A wound some other deemed necessary, the way winds reverse oceans, the way I panic when I realize the swindle. Why this word? Why this wound? Why this you? Why this train wreck of a place? 3. Is my life so unsettled, chewing on the yellow edges of leaves until I see something godlike, uncanny at this lemon hour? To live another day's sleep can claim, at least I'll be well rested for death. And what's the word for that? 4. If only my body was not to knowledge as a drop is to the ocean. So when my tongue-tethered heart leapt out from me, it might buoy us through the rip tide of life pouring from the sky, telling us to forget our injuries. I feel I am close, like a word someone taught me, but now I've lost. 5. My hair, thick as a school of gaping fish, could drown a man and his sorrow. And my limbs, I feel, are vanishing underwater, as in, I am becoming an island. My head falls back and anchors my torpedo-like torso, buoyant with this pulse ticking. And how are they going to tell me a damn thing when they don't know if I'm a womb or a bomb? Thank you. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for having me.
Or a bomb. Blown away. Woo. Thank you for sharing. Hey, Matthew Hupert from New York City is the founder of Neuronautic Institute and Press. He has 2 full-length collections. Ism is a Retrovirus by 3 Rooms Press and Secular Pantheism by Neuronautic Press, plus several chapbooks. His work has appeared in Midstream Magazine, Maintenant, and Sonnets, 150 contemporary sonnets. Matthew hosts the annual NYC Poets Reading, Night in the Naked City, and a monthly series called Neuronautic Institute Presents. He is a 2020 ACRA Award winner for show organizing and hosting. Welcome, Matthew Hupert.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. As everyone says, it's a real honor to be involved in this gorgeous collection. If you don't own a copy, please go out and get one because you need it in your life. All right, I'm going to power through some of these. First one's called Communion. There's a holy moment in the life of bread, no longer lone ingredients not yet ossified into loaf. Dough is too inert a word for this potentiality, this soft-skinned saint tremoring with sanctity, imminent and insensate. A holy moment before it's baked into lifelessness, as holy as told in any scroll or scripture, a synod of yeast simmers holy, breath hallowed by the hollows of dough, a sigh, a wasp's nest, a tavern, a lung, a cathedral. Buttressed raised by exhalation from fungal feeding, fucking, feasting and yeasting, an ecosystem orgy, a canopy, a gasp, a prayer, fecund, fraught with possibility, ripening, writhing, rising, holy in the bowl on our kitchen counter. Sort of a pandemic poem, I think, I don't know. And the next one's also about food. Go figure, write what you know, right? This is called George Washington Carver Bodhisattva. I take a handful of peanuts and put it in my mouth. I chew and chew. There's a moment before I swallow when the peanuts turn to peanut butter. Finding that moment, Satori. Right, this is a newer one called Your Art Hates You or It Wouldn't Make You Suffer. A love poem. This stanza is a grass-covered slope to roll down in giggles and dizzy, to stagger up breathless and do it again. This stanza is a Catskill-rimmed waterhole so still that star clouds rest on its bottom till a lazy toe twitch ripples them to ambiguity. This stanza is spaghetti and meatballs, black raspberry ice cream, the caramel stuck to your fingers when the chocolate is done, chicken soup rice, a well-crafted cocktail. This stanza is a single shaft of sun cutting diagonally across the bed where the two cats are sleeping when you open your eyes. This stanza is a hot cup of tea with lemon, a beach chair, a breeze with a hint of honeysuckle or jasmine, a well-worn book with notes in the margin. This stanza is the second kiss. Thank you. And for a kind of change of pace here, this one is called Brood Parasite. Brood Parasite. Some words are cuckoo's eggs. Hatched, they empty the nest of all other ideas, ruthlessly crowding them over the edge, fattening on stolen worms meant for gentler pursuits. Biopsy, lymphoma, soft-feathered and ravenous, water-heavy and opened mouth, their cuckoo cry quiets the chirp of lost chicks. Thank you. And this one, I think I read this on an open mic for Great Weather once upon a time, but this is called I Was a Frontline Soldier in the War on Drugs, a three-parter. 1. The beach in Koh Samui, Mai Nam Beach. Back before the airport, there was a bungalow with a sign out front, magic mushroom omelets, breakfast served all day. On my 27th birthday, we had mushroom soup for breakfast. That afternoon, undulating blue with the Gulf of Thailand, we were too high to tell if the joint was lit or not. 2. After the concert, he sat on the curb, Tai Chi eyes blazed around saucer-sized pupils. I am everywhere, everywhere, he joyfully shouted, everywhere. But later, my buddy said he hadn't seen him, so I knew he was wrong. 3. An 18-hour bus across the Rajasthani Tar, heading to Blue Udaipur. I heard God's voice in the blue desert moon telling me to quit doing drugs. But I was so high on bang balls at the time from the bicycle kid in Jaipur, I felt no need to pay attention. Thanks. True story. And this is a very new one called Frank, somewhere between poetry and flash fiction, I don't know. Frank. Frank lived in the same apartment for 60 years, a great neighbor, always a smile and a nod, made me happy to help when I could. When he was young, Frank told me, he hated the Yankees, but had seen Ruth and Gehrig in Murderers Row because when he cut school, it was the stadium he knew how to get to. Even in his 90s, Frank never sat still. One summer, living in Amsterdam, when I was a VJ and the dollar was strong, I was out eating pancakes at a coffee house on Prinsengracht, feeling the canal breeze, a late morning after a late night, and who ambles by, wiry and electric and alive? Frank. I asked him why he was here and not back in Yorkville. Spending my savings. He didn't want to leave any money to his kids, no use for them at all. He found the thought of them fighting for whatever scraps he left behind hysterical. Later, The Frank-shaped stain on the carpet haunted me until I had the floors redone. Thank you. And a few more. All right, this one is so new that I really don't know if it's done or not, but it's in that place where I need to hear it out loud before I can tell what to do with it. So good luck to all of us. This is called Murmuration at 5 p.m. under a hunchback moon. The F train's full of flocking swallows, heading home at rush hour, preoccupied subway eyes abstracted by the end of the day. Suspicious murmurations flit their faces, darting swifts across a dusk backlit by a gibbous moon. They jockey for seats south to Brooklyn winter. All right, two more. Voids, or things that sound like they should be the same thing but, or empty notes, or something to think about. Buddhist, nothing. Nihilist, nothing. Bank account, nothing. Mathematical, nothing. Outer void, nothing. Inner void, nothing. Vacuum, nothing. What did you say? Nothing. What did you mean? Nothing. Interstellar, nothing. Full rest, nothing. Quantum fuzz, nothing. What do they have in common? Nothing. All right, last one, I'm going to do the incredibly flashiest of flash fictions that's in the anthology. But before I do, I want to thank everyone again for inviting me to be part of this. I'm honored to be in this book. I'm honored to be with all these incredibly talented people. It's fucking humbling, this all out. So anyway, this is the one in the book. I think it's on page 150, something or another, I don't know. It's called Dubrovnik 1940. They've considered themselves married since they found each other hidden in adjacent barrels on a ship to America. The ceremony was the sound of seagulls. Thank you. Peace out, y'all.
Oh my God, that was amazing, Matthew. Thank you so much. The imagery in your stuff is just, oh, it's everything. And now I want ice cream and pasta and omelets, everything you mentioned all together. Thank you. Okay, so next up, our next reader is the author of Wake Up Calls, 66 Morning Poems by Soft Skull Press and Field of Wanting Poems of Desire by Blaze Vox Books. She has had work translated in Ukrainian, Hungarian, Arabic, Galician, and Bangla. Received awards from the New York Foundation for the Arts and the National Theater Translation Fund, and curated at the Poetry Project at St. Mark's Church. Her book, Mind Honey, is forthcoming from Autono Media. Everyone, welcome, Wanda Phipps.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Lyndsey and Thomas, and all the great people at Great Weather for Media. Thanks so much for including me in the anthology and asking me to read. And first I'll read the poem that's in the anthology. It's called Questionnaire. How lucid are your dreams? Do you move through them with intention? Is a bow from Guatemala a portal to paradise? Do you direct your dreams like a Lars von Trier movie? Are you at the next F stop? What is the strategy for the Bacchanal? How many times have I said no? Will you be there on the threshold for the coronation? Will you hold my hand one last time? Did I see your shadow on the asphalt? How fast can this happen? What is the next exit? Where do we go for the two-step? Have I given up the ghost? Will she be dancing too? And next I'll read a poem from my first full-length book, Wake Up Calls, 66 Morning Poems. And this is morning poem number 27. I should have stayed here with the beautiful, strong, cold Corinna May. I should have stayed here all those years ago with the known and familiar. I shouldn't have called so much. I shouldn't have been so callous. I should have stuck by you after recovery. I should have moved to DC when you asked me to. I should have taken that editing job. I should have taken that TV PA job. I should have gone through with that graduate school acceptance. I should have loved you when we first met. I should have been a performance poet, a spoken word artist. I should have gone every place I was afraid to go. I should have helped you find an apartment. I should have been more interesting and less the clinging vine. I should have protested loudly about some things and not at all about others. I should have learned Spanish and German. I shouldn't have been so easily discouraged. I should have listened to my mother. My life could have been so much better by now. And this is a poem from my new book. Here's the new book, Mind Honey. Yes, just out from a ton of media, and it's called These Are Special to Me. I remember, yes, my nails are dirty, a neglected hand. You said that, write about it until it's resolved. Slow acting Novocaine. A pleasant tingle as I reach for my pen on a downtown A train to a B-list brawl. Just what I always wanted, a man who notices my earrings. If you remain wistful, it's all your fault. If I remain longing, it's my fault. If we remain, whose fault is it? In many Greek translations, I love your long lines, the ideal beauty of your form. In a name I call not yours, but another's, to take the place of you. Watch your face for sudden changes. An abstract cello screeches, unsure with the heat. Stand for the breeze just right. Didn't know you'd be this cold. Discipline, willpower, such violation walking into a bar alone. Awkward dancing stirs the air. A dark, tight room. Tattooed face and hands salute gray walls. Perfect face, spoiled by the bearer's knowledge of it. Reggae clears the room. And here is a more recent poem. It's called In the Canyon. And it's a poem about a moment of ecstatic illumination. Walking down the canyon of heroes, feeling like a heroine, or no, a superhero or superheroine, but yes, a pioneer on another plane, that in-between place, familiar as skins touching skin. The sidewalk opens on a fleeting pinpoint of light, expanding to curl under doorways, through cracks in the walls, in the psyche, making a home in the palm of my hand. And this is the last poem I'll read, and it's also a newer poem. And it's about walking also, but walking by the water near where I live, near the Verrazano Bridge and the Verrazano Narrows in Brooklyn, in Bay Ridge. It's called On the City Reliquary. The waters of the Narrows widen with the light, sun, moon, following a line of probability, splitting the spinning compass. I turn in the direction of the antidote, where the two rivers meet. This rushing fills my ears, focusing a chord of abundance. Every moment now unveiling the rocks, the waves, the gulls, the crows, the ducks, the swans, the fish, the tankers, the tugboats, the cruise ships, the sailboats, the ferries, the clouds, the space between the clouds, the bridges, the feet walking step by step, moment by moment on the asphalt, on the grass, on the path of energy moving from emotion to thought, to matter, to bikes, rolling wheels, air surrounding, permeating all that is and ever will be, the trees standing, branches waving, leaves signaling to the jonquils and the bees, the hummingbirds and the daffodils, the new life streaming clearly now and now and now. Thank you.
Woo. Let's hear it for Wanda Phipps. Wow, that was incredible. Thank you. And let's also hear it for Lyndsey Ellis, who hosted the first half of this show. I'll be hosting the second half, so you're stuck with me. We have 78 more poets for you tonight. So we're going to try to get through all 78 right now. This next poet is the author of Bone Moon Palace by Nomadic Press. His work can be found in Subterrane, Brave New World, Ellipsis, and X-Ray Lit. Paul is a co-founder of Oakland's Beast Crawl Lit Festival and works as a teacher. Let's hear it for Paul Corman-Roberts.
Thank you. Thank you for the intro, Thomas. Thank you, Lyndsey. Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much to Great Weather. It's this is one of those rooms I find myself in going, wow, how did I get in here? So it's pretty nice. It's a true privilege. I did put a link to my new book in the chat screen in case people want to check it out. Bone Moon Palace, just out July 3rd from Nomadic Press. I will I'll start just with a small poem, a short poem to get myself warmed up, and then I'll read the piece from the anthology, which is so gorgeous. I'm loving it so much. I'm gonna wind up workshopping some of this work, I guarantee it. This is called It's Midnight and 103 degrees out there. Some people show up at your door at the worst possible time. It doesn't matter that I'm not talking about now. People are willing to do drugs they wouldn't otherwise do if they believe it will lead to their carnal delight. The air becomes different. The shape of everything begins slouching towards Las Vegas. Sometimes people will do drugs they wouldn't otherwise do if they are simply offered. Disassociated prophets of the stratosphere like to say the angels and demons among us can feel the shifts of epics. You know who you are. Sometimes you accept that you will not sleep in your own home because you agreed to allow strangers through your door. We will need rituals of healing, rituals of matriarchy, and it's possible to fashion a complete meal with 2 heels of wheat bread and 2 tablespoons of pasta sauce to keep these precious few bubbles of air viable through the entirety of this new ocean that we all swim in now. A voice once heard underwater cannot be unheard anywhere. So if you feel a shift, yeah, start shifting. And then I will read the piece from the anthology called Redwood Empire 1973, right here, page 39, if you want to read along. And this is the place. This place has a background which you can probably guess at if you want to look it up, but I think the story speaks for itself. Redwood Empire 1973. Dad takes me to the Redwood Empire ice rink in Santa Rosa to watch his reefer running buddy Dennis from Boston play center for Sebastopol's amateur hockey team. One of Dennis' teammates is the son of the guy who writes those Snoopy cartoons I watch on TV. I always end up crying when the shows are over because I don't want them to be over, because I view these characters as my friends that I may never see again. And of course, this pisses my dad off because he can't understand crying over a goddamn TV show. I'm not much of a candidate to be a hockey kid at age 5. However, the Sebastopol squad's opponent tonight is the home ice Santa Rosa team, whose starting center is the guy who writes the Snoopy cartoons. And Dad thinks I might be interested in this, but it is Christmas season, and the only ice rink for miles around is decorated to the T. Honestly, my eyes are more taken by the 3-dimensional diorama installed on the tops of the bleachers, stretching around the walls to the far sides of the rink. It's a near life-size replica of an old-timey village, a strange mix of Victorian turrets and modern apartments, cast in silhouette with real looking windows, real looking shadows of real looking people who move around and around inside their shadow homes. I've never seen anything like it in my life, neither so large or so full of lights. The smell of fresh boughs illuminate the shadows, a kind of deliverance from the odor of frozen sweat and chlorine surrounding us. Dennis waves to us from the ice, and that's kind of cool. He's all decked out in pads and looks like a long-haired astronaut, but my attention shoots right back to the little Winter Village spectacle off to my right. I want to see who is inside that thing. I want to travel to this alternate world that is just right over there and knock on the shadow doors. And if those shadow doors don't open, then I want to go inside those warm looking homes with their nooks and crannies and imagine I can live in this village too. It's all I really want to think about. And my dad suddenly explodes. Holy shit, Schultz just blindsided his own kid. A fist fight breaks out on the ice. Some of the crowd starts trekking out onto the ice to join the brawl. And it is at that moment that my father turns to me with an expression I will understand later in life means somber. Stay here, I'll be right back. He disappears into the crowd a few sections over, and that's okay, because it just gives me a chance to make my way over to the mysterious village of many lights that is now coming within reaching distance of my 5-year-old hands, and I hear strange clicks and whirring sounds emanating from inside the alternate silhouette world, and I wonder what is making those noises. And surely all the shadow people who get to live inside all this sublime beauty and excitement at Santa Rosa's Redwood Empire ice rink will be able to give me all of the answers. Thank you.
Let's hear it for Paul Corman-Roberts. Wow, that was fantastic. Thank you. So we are celebrating Paper Teller Diorama, and we did an introduction for this book, and there was something in the introduction that I think really captures these poems that I just wanted to read really quick. There is hope in the air, however tenuous, just as there is hopefulness in these pages. We believe they will inspire you as we resume, or more accurately, remake our lives. I really think these poems are a great step in that direction of remaking our lives. And the next poet to help us do that is Kit Kennedy, is a queer elder living in Walnut Creek, California. Her work has appeared in publications including Pedestal, Gyroscope, Otoliths, and several great Weather for Media anthologies. Kit loves red shoes and fruit of all persuasion, especially Fuyu Persimmons. Here is Kit Kennedy.
Thank you so much. It's, as everyone has said, it's an honor. You know, it's actually just an honor to submit your work and have it read. If it's accepted, that's just beyond the pale. So thank you so, so much. So, an untrue story. It's from the anthology, but it could have been true. I went to college with a woman in this faded photo. On break, on whim, we flew to Rome. We weren't stymied by the postage-size hotel. The solemnity of churches could not hold us back. I flew home, or thought I did. 50 years later, I inspect coasters for innuendos, fold sheets to the unsaid part of my life. If it is any comfort, every May 1st, I look at your photo. No doubt, after my demise, one of the kids will be puzzled by our pose. I hope it's not the filmmaker in the family who finds the unmailed letters. So about 11 years ago, every month I wrote a prose poem based on a Joan Mitchell poem. And so this is a prose poem, the title of which is Joan Mitchell's wonderful painting called George Went Swimming at Barnes Hole, but it got too cold, 1956. There is no way you can catch a bus to go where you want today. Other means must be considered. Dreams demand alternate transportation, and the schedule is never posted clearly. Your cell phone is useless. You will not find what you seek on the internet. Forget it. So my suggestion is to affix colorful words to your sleeves and walk along the frozen lake. Yes, 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 by all means include some of your 500 favored words. You have them neatly in that little tiny book. Perhaps it is a C day or a T day, words beginning with only those letters. It will cheer you up and someone for sure will recognize you. You will be a walking conversation. You only need yourself to have fun. The words you speak are snowflakes, those connections who make you who you are. Look around you. Sky is that beautiful frozen lake, like ice that cuts to the quick. Magpie on a fence, a Steller's jay on a limb, voice before sight. Unfortunately, it is not the season for red-winged blackbirds and their flashy tricolor patches. Although several people walking the same route are wearing scarlet wool scarves. Why is no one wearing yellow? Always now and another time, two sides of a dime. Thus you come upon a tempest, a trickster, a tiara, truly. And the last poem for the last, 81, 82 weeks, once a week, I've been writing a poem with a friend based on a prompt. So this is a fairly recent one. It is Word of the Day 71, and it's the last one. And with this, I want to say once again, thank you. And it's an honor to hear some of you I know, but some of you I do not know. And it's just been an abundant joy. So Word of the Day 71. Less splendid than survival, transformation common in nature. Consider the amount of energy goes into becoming what you are meant to become. Write this down at noon every day for a month. Now, do you have wings or fur? Thank you.
Ooh, let's hear it for Kit Kennedy. Fantastic. Folks, we have 3 more poets to go. This next poet is the author of the Hurricane book from Rose Meadow Press and the chapbook Bedroom Pop from Dancing Girl Press. Originally from Puerto Rico, her work focuses on belonging, etymology, and dreams. Claudia's poems and short fiction have appeared in the Brooklyn Rail, Salt Hill, Ambit, Radar Poetry, and other publications. She was a finalist for the 2019 Philip Booth Poetry Prize and the runner-up for the 2020 Split Lit Press Hybrid Chapbook Contest. She lives in Brooklyn, New York. Let's hear it for Claudia Acevedo-Quiñones.
Thank you so much for having me and including me in this anthology. This has been really lovely and moving. So I'm going to be reading from the poem that was included in the anthology. It's titled Scott's Not Here. It's supposed to be a love poem, but it's really a pandemic poem. It's a poem about missing and losing. It's on page 55 if anyone is reading along. Scott's not here, but it's okay. When Scott isn't ripping off my bodice in a burning fit, he's chopping up McConnell's jowls for $2,000 salad. When Scott isn't driving 1,800 miles to Brooklyn to run his fingers through my hair, he's starting the Denver chapter of Neighbors in Action and nothing but Carhartt overalls. When Scott isn't adding to our shared Google spreadsheet of baby names, he's advising our mayor on vaccination strategies for Kings County. When Scott isn't looking into companion burial plots overlooking the Pacific, he's throwing red paint at the face of every Confederate statue in the South over summer break. When Scott isn't painting me a Kincaid with his tongue, he's living in his van with a Swedish wife and 2 white-haired children. When Scott isn't forsaking all others, he's trying for an ethically non-monogamous relationship with his arms dealer. When Scott isn't counting every mole on my back, he's in the hospital with a stab wound. When Scott isn't running from the guards with me at the MoMA, he's putting tiny hand sanitizers in all the mailboxes on his street. When Scott isn't trying to get us a reservation at that new mochi restaurant, he's joining the Mile High Club with a socialist welder he met on Bumble for the bit. When Scott isn't taking his mask off for me, he's joining the Peace Corps. When Scott isn't waiting for the pregnancy test results with me, he's quitting the Peace Corps and writing a piece for The Atlantic about their ties to colonialism, and it takes up all of his free time. When Scott isn't pulling a splinter out of my big toe with tweezers, he's tapping away at his keyboard in his office at that nonprofit place. When Scott isn't checking my body for deer ticks, he's teaching the neighbor's niece how to ride a bike up a hill with confidence. When Scott isn't taking my grandma to physical therapy, he's a jail support. When Scott isn't picking up my interview pantsuit at the dry cleaners, he's at jury duty and not guilty, Your Honor. When Scott isn't saving me a seat at our mutual friend's violin recital, he's at the car wash thinking about how it's like someone threw spaghetti at a tornado. When Scott isn't eating a baguette with me in the park at midnight, he's camping out in his backyard to see the meteor shower, and there's no reception there. When Scott isn't co-hosting our barbecue, he's simply building a telescope from scratch. When Scott isn't arguing with me about the most humane way to kill a rat, he's fixing the carburetor of a '65 Mustang he named Lucy, and the radio is on real loud. When Scott isn't leaving his keys at my place, he's stripping the lead paint off our dream house's attic walls. When Scott isn't having a silent coffee break with me while staring out the bay windows, he's looking into flights to Costa Rica just in case we can get inoculated soon. When Scott isn't explaining tax credits to my mother over the phone, he's running around the cul-de-sac until there's no water left in his body, and that's why he never cries. When Scott isn't doing it for me, he's polishing his great-grandfather's silver letter opener before using it to open the 10th ACLU membership renewal letter he got this month. When Scott isn't growing a mustache in November, despite my request not to, he's walking to CVS to get a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos and a box of bearskin Trojans for later. When Scott isn't telling me his dreams, he's replenishing the bird feeder for Sophia, Dorothy, and Blanche, his adoptive sparrows. When Scott isn't calmly going over the difference between Kardans and humans for Zoom dinner, he's probably just taking a massive dump. When Scott isn't getting too drunk off Ron del Barrilito with me, he's signing up for a rally driving course. When Scott isn't reminding me of the times he led me into dark corners to whisper things into my mouth, he's folding every sock pair he owns into neat little sushi rolls. When Scott isn't trying to recall how many moles are on my back, he's in the middle of Godard movie night with his bros, and they really get into it. When Scott isn't fusing into the carpet, he's paying his credit card bill with one eye closed. When Scott isn't texting me every holiday to say that he's thinking of me, he's eating for the first time after 5 days of meditative fasting. When Scott isn't calling me from Trader Joe's because he saw Jesus on an artichoke, he's shaving his head with a straight razor, patting it, and spraying it with rose water. When Scott isn't looking for excuses, he's asking his reflection, "What color is your parachute?" When Scott isn't tagging me in his Instagram archive stories, he's getting off his pickup truck and stopping traffic so that a turtle family can cross the road. When Scott isn't sending me pictures of golden retrievers and bucket hats, he's talking to the postal worker about how bad the wildfire was 6-ish feet apart. When Scott isn't responding to my existential questions with shrug emojis, he's perfecting his vegan bolognese in his new shared kitchen, and this is fine. When Scott isn't reading my messages, he's most likely hugging his surfboard somewhere in Santa Barbara, looking at the sun come out of the water like a boy waiting for his dad to come home. Thank you.
All right. Let's hear it for Claudia Acevedo-Quiñones. Thank you. Wow, that was fucking incredible. We have two more poets for you. Next up, this poet has recent fiction poetry and reviews in Matnet, Lummox, Flash Boulevard, About Place Journal, Home Planet News, the Parliament Literary Magazine, Indolent Books, and elsewhere. He is the author of the full-length poetry collection, Privacy Issues from Broadside Lotus Press, it is Austin Alexis.
Hi, thank you. And I really would like to say that the book is physically so beautiful. The cover, the print, the paper type. So thank you so much for putting so much care into this. You know, Thomas and David and Mary, and especially Jane Omerod. I really, really love the book and appreciate all the work you've done. The first poem I'll read is the poem in the anthology. It's on page 92 if you are reading along. And the poem comes out of anticipating a new administration in Washington, D.C. Seeing the green light, I press you to survey more closely. My friend, a fresh world will arrive, has already. Once you've pressed on the pedal, zoom. You'll be in the throes of the rebirth we've panted for. You fail to face or admit, my friend, the too good to be true new data, the way your feet is blind to abrupt goosebumps erupting on your butt after a shower. From nature, they appear as a signal of the warmth to come. Stop moping, grin, and start envisioning the sunrise, blazing crimson on the horizon, straight ahead. Refrain from omitting what impresses, even awes. Elect to use imagination if sight clouds over, or if you lose belief in the power of having faith. The next poem is one of my George Floyd poems, and I wrote a whole sequence of poems when that incident happened, and then this one came many, many, many months later. And it's titled To George Floyd. I held my weight on your neck, hunkered down, as if for a day of vigilance against imagined danger. A mosquito buzzed near my scalp. I ascended a bit to smash the pest between my palms. The bug outwitted my response, flew off, but I felt no regrets, since the creature had as much right to live as I had. And the next poem is a very recent poem in a different mode and mood altogether. What to do when attacked by a bear? Do a liquid-like moonwalk backwards, your legs illustrating film industry slow motion technique, calculated. Caterpillar yourself up an elm and hope the bear's too flabbergasted or lazy or moronic to figure out a way to follow you. Play inert, dead, a sedimentary rock, a stove-sized stone that hasn't moved in eons, a boulder, gracefully heavy, bold enough to practice stillness. Or hoot, holler, howl, bark, bellow, belch brashly if need be. Better yet, run, honey, run. Thank you.
All right, let's hear it for Austin Alexis. That was beautiful. And thank you for mentioning the quality of the paper, because we're really happy with it too. Thank you. Beautiful job. Thank you so much, Austin. We have one more poet. We've gotten to the end of this beautiful Saturday. This next poet has a memoir, Ray by Ray, a daughter's take on the legend Nicholas Ray from Three Rooms Press, and her collection of poems, Backseat Baby from Poison Fang Books, were both published in 2020. She is also a 2020 New York Acker Award recipient. Let's hear it for Nicca Ray.
Hi, I'm just so thrilled to be a part of this anthology. I want to thank everyone, Thomas and Lyndsey and Jane and George and David for including my poem in this anthology. So, and all you readers, I'm just thrilled to be included in it with all of you. So this is my poem that's in the anthology, Change in Eyes. I can see the change in my eyes in school pictures. In second grade, they sparkle. In fourth grade, there is cloud coverage. In fifth, they are the fade out into blank stare. I want to grab my mother. I want to show her. I want to ask her why she can't see. I can hear the changes in how I speak. At home, I tie my tongue. I save all my words for when I'm at grandma's. I think she is listening, but really, she is nodding out drunk. I want to grab my mother. I want to show her. I want to ask her. My tongue is tied, my mind is loud, my heart is growing colder by the day. I want my mother to see me. I can feel the changes in my body. My stomach is too big for pants. I am hungry all of the time. My hunger repels my mother. She forbids me certain foods at dinner. But every night, after the dishes are done and she has left the kitchen, I inhale containers of Cool Whip in one swallow. My mother is the kind of beautiful that gets a girl discovered in Hollywood. My fat is an affront to her. I want to grab my mother. I want her to see what is being done to me. And now I'm going to read a couple from my collection, Backseat Baby. Hold on just a second. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. Piñata. Seatbelts aren't the law yet. Brake for the red light, the sudden stop sign, the last sun ray hitting the lone palm tree, the cross where Jesus died on the distant mountaintop, the exodus, the parking space across the street from the open marketplaces. She says remind her of when we lived in Madrid. I don't remember cobblestone or slabs of meat hanging from racks or baskets and flowers or Terra Vera pottery. But I remember the piñatas she hung from the shady tree in our backyard just east of Hollywood. And on my birthday, hitting the blue, purple, yellow, and orange paper mache horse with a baseball bat and opening my eyes just a slight crack so I could see where all the candy fell. Flight. If I could part ways with my flesh, would I be free of those memories that tricked me into hating my body? If I were weightless, could I lift off pavement, be a rocket to the moon? If I was a spacesuit, could I float away, be a balloon escaping into the sky, no one able to reach my string? If I could reassemble myself, attach my left leg where my right arm ought to be, would I land inside a Picasso? If I were hanging off a screw drilled into a pristine gallery wall, would I take comfort in being stared at? If you hadn't have touched me, would I have lived my life thinking every stranger saw the dirt on my face? If I had been alive in 1938, Would I have been cast in angels with dirty faces? If I was a Fragonard cherub, would joy be my bounty? If I was joyful, would his trespasses leave my thoughts alone? And the last one I'm going to read is a relatively new one, Slipping into Vague. If you say a word or touch me there, I may never speak again. If a memory strikes when you're smoothing your finger under my dress, I may not remember I am here with you now. If you whisper, suck it into my ear, I may freeze and lay stiff as a corpse. If you ask, where did you go? I may be miles away, too far gone to hear. If you walk into a room and catch me staring at the wall, I am in another place. If the phone rings and I am startled, I am bracing for danger. If you promise me forevers, I may look at you as though you are speaking in tongues. If you ask me to be on top, I may stop in mid-sentence. If you ask if I'm breathing, I may have forgotten how. If I wake you with my screams, I am only dreaming. If you wake me in the morning, I may toss and turn until afternoon. If you hear me talking gibberish, I may need you to pull apart the sounds. If the sound sets off the alarm, I may run for cover. If you see me running in place, I am a runaway. Thank you.
Let's hear it for Nicca Ray. And let's hear it for all the poets tonight. What a great, great job. Thank you, everyone out there. Quick commercial. Every Wednesday, we do something called the 10-minute feature, which is just 10 minutes of poetry every Wednesday at 7:40. This Wednesday, we have Kaja Johnson, so please check that out. Definitely check out Paper Teller Diorama. You can go to greatweatherformedia.com to purchase the book. Am I forgetting anything else? I guess I'm not. So everyone, I want you to have a safe commute from your desk to your couch. And that's it. Have a great day, great Saturday.